Hey friends, welcome back to the Happy Homeowner Podcast, Outdoor Edition. My name is Dan Keller, and I believe that owning a home is the largest and most valuable asset we have, second to our time. As a veteran mortgage professional, investor, and Puget Sound angler, my commitment is to bring you content each week that will fill each one of these buckets in your life. Jump on board with us today, enjoy the show, and we'll see you back in the marina. Hey, welcome back to another outdoor edition of the Happy Homeowner Podcast. This one is truly outdoors because we're heading way up. You don't even get cell coverage.
Perfect.
Where we're talking about today, but I'm going to tell you, if you want a salmon fishing adventure that you'll talk about for years, my son will never forget the first time that we went up with Ben Rosenbach to Baker Lake, the views, the beautiful green water, the unbelievable, probably the best tasting salmon we have ever caught. Yeah, and I'll kind of tee up this episode with this. Our neighbor, I can remember it like it was yesterday that year. We brought home some salmon. And by the way, I think you can keep like 4, right? So we had way too many Sockeyes. So we gave a couple to our neighbor who's retired, and he had some guests coming over that night. One of them was a very successful chef of a very nice restaurant. And all Hudson had done was season it, my son. He seasoned it up just a little with what we normally season salmon, and he wrapped it in foil and literally brought it over to them. They barbecued it, and this chef came over later that night and said, I have to say this is the best in years of cooking proteins in her restaurant. This was the best salmon we've ever had.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crud. I mean, I'm no salmon connoisseur, but that's what we're talking about today. Baker Lake Sockeye. We have one of the best fishing guides up there. I mean, last year he was taking boatloads full of people out, and he was done in an hour.
Yeah.
And what was the limit? A 4 fish limit?
It was 3 to start.
3 to start.
It was 4 by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So we have our friend Ben Rosenbach with Mixed Metals Outdoors. And as you can see here, we have some crazy looking flashers, some crazy looking pink and orange setups, but we're talking about Baker Lake Sockeye today. So welcome, Ben, and welcome, Connor, with John's Sporting Goods right here in Everett.
Yes, sir.
Summertime.
Yeah.
It all starts with Chinook fishing in the river. Beginning of June, we're up there chasing these big Chinook around. Usually about the time that peters out, middle of June, third week of June, we can start catching these sockeye in the river. First part of June, last part of May is usually when we start to see the first handful trickle in. End of June, we can go up, we target these things in the river. High water years are better in the river than the low water. Sockeye are incredibly spooky fish. They don't spend a lot of time in the river. They're hauling butt through.
Which this year is a low water year.
It's a low water year,
Yeah.
so they're going to be tougher to catch in the lower river. I will run some trips for it very end of June if I can go up and catch fish.
Yeah.
I'll grab you or a buddy or something, go up there and say, hey, let's go see if we can figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
But June 6th this year, Baker Lake's opening.
Yeah.
June 6th or July 6th?
Or July 6th, sorry.
Okay.
Yep, July 6th,
Yep.
It's opening. 4 fish limit. That's opening day, regardless if there's fish in the lake or not. Fingers crossed there is. There's going to be. Last year, I think we had 6,000 or 8,000 fish in the lake by then.
Okay.
Wow.
The 4 fish limit is new to begin with. We always end the season on it. These are all hatchery fish, brood-stocked fish, right? They come up to Skagit, come up to Baker, hit the dam. They put them in a trap, throw them in a truck, drive
truck
them
up there.
a mile to the lake, and they dump them out into the lake. After the tribes get their share and they take their broodstock take. They are big, bright, mean, delicious sockeye.
Yeah.
They're the biggest sockeye in the state. Last year we had a couple of fish that were in the 8 or 9 pound range.
Was that odd though? Was that a rare year? Or is that normal?
No, that's normal.
Okay.
It's normal.
Okay.
Again, it's not normal, but we'll catch a couple each year that are that big.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the size of them last year. I was just like, these are some good size sockeyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Compared to Wenatchee and Brewster,
Yep.
you're talking a whole nother
And
fish.
the amazing part about it is how bright they are.
Yeah.
Like when they dump these fish in the lake, they look like they just pulled them out of the saltwater.
Yeah.
I mean, they are chrome bright, greenback, picturesque sockeye.
Yeah, they're not going that long. I
Nope.
mean, they're not going a far away. before they
72
hit.
miles to the mouth of the Baker.
Yeah.
That's nothing for these fish. Compared to the Columbia fish. I mean, to get to Wenatchee, you're 400 miles.
Yeah.
By the time they get to Lake Wenatchee, so
Right.
it's a great opportunity. Real family friendly fishery. You get up, you grab the wife, the kids, the brothers, neighbors, whatever, buddies. Come drink some beer. We can throw the barbecue on the boat. It's a very relaxed fishery.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the most part.
Until you start hooking fish.
You've got just a porcupine selection of rods out of the boat. These fish run around in pods. So usually when you get one, you get two or three at the same time. And it's chaos. They are spunky, flying out of the water, twisting up in the gear. I'm yelling and screaming, and things are tangled up, but it's fun chaos.
Yeah.
It's
a fishery where you pack a couple nets. You don't just have one.
Two nets on the boat with long handles at all times. So.
Well, we're going to teach you everything that you need to go up and actually do this. And I'm stoked because I'm going to give this to my son, who's turning 16 this summer, and he's going to take his little 14-foot aluminum up there, and he's going to follow you around, and he's going to do this on his own because he's been with, this is his third year in a row doing this, and he thinks he can do it on his own. And I'm confident after today's episode he will.
Oh, for sure.
And so let's start with some housekeeping items, like rules, regulations. You mentioned 4. Last year it was 3. You mentioned it doesn't really matter if they're clipped or unclipped. They're not even clipped, are they?
You won't find any clipped ones.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. What else do we need to know? You go up there and fish and catch your limit and leave? I mean, is there anything else?
Baker, you can use bait. Wenatchee, you can't.
Okay.
All of this gear, all of these tactics will work on both systems from Baker Lake, Lake Wenatchee, Columbia River, Brewster, Wells Dam, wherever you're at. Sockeye fishing is sockeye fishing. I mean, there's going to be a few little things that are, he's got the hot red or, the orange is working here or whatever. But this is general sockeye fishing for how most people are doing it. Whether you're doing it off of downriggers or lead rods, the terminal gear at the end of this is pretty much universal.
Okay.
Everybody's got their own twist on it, right? But I can take this gear right here and go anywhere in the state and catch sockeye. I know it. I've done it. I do it, right?
As long as you bend the flasher. Look at this flasher.
That's personal preference. I know a lot of guys, fishing guides included, that don't do that to their Dodgers. Oh, we don't got to do that. Well, you know what? Whether it's a mental battle that I'm winning or losing, it's how I do it.
So let's do this. Let's start at the fish. Let's start at the hooks and work up. So you mentioned you can use bait and scent at Baker Lake, which is actually really good. You go over to Lake Wenatchee like we've done, and they have fish and game driving around to make sure there's no scent on the boat, no bait on the boat, nothing.
Barbs.
No barbs. So let's start at the hook. How do the hooks look up there? Can you use barbs?
At Baker Lake, you can use barbs.
Okay.
Most of my gear's got a 1/0 or a size 1 Gamakatsu hook, red.
Okay.
Everything's red.
Okay.
Always red.
Red hooks. Yep.
Here's the thing about the red hooks, though. Little pro tip, we'll call it.
Yep.
Once these hooks get bit a few times and chewed on,
the
red flakes off and they turn gold.
Okay.
Only hook that turns gold, unless you buy the little eagle claw egg hooks that are gold, they fish better, I think,
really?
once the red gets chipped off of them.
No kidding.
For whatever reason.
Wow. Okay.
So 30 or 40 pound leader, and I know that seems obscene, but again, the whole purpose behind the heavy leaders is you have these Dodgers. The reason these Dodgers are bent is we are trolling at speeds from 0.8 to 1.2 miles an hour. You are barely
moving.
moving.
Yeah.
but at the same time, you still want to get action out of the gear.
Okay.
So the Dodgers, unlike a flasher, a flasher will rotate over. Dodgers don't. They're just side to side like this, right? The more bend I put in this flasher, the harder it's going to go side to side like this. Hence the 30 or 40 pound leaders. I prefer fluorocarbon because it's stiffer.
Yep.
That's the harder it's going to whip that bait back and forth, back behind it, right? I mean, sometimes I'll have these leaders cut down to shoot this long.
Wow.
Right? You've got 6 or 8 inches before the first hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes.
Okay.
Double hooks, I tie them tight.
That eye's right on the bend of that.
Yep, right on the bend of it.
So going back to that leader, Ben, it's the same cigar that you guys like, the 30-pound floor. You've seen us talk about it. Okay.
You can get it down here at John's.
Yep. Okay.
I tie the hooks tight.
Okay. So you're almost buttoned right up to
Pretty
those guys.
much,
The base of the one, the top of the other.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
No more than a half inch in between the bottom of this hook and the eye of this hook, right?
Yep.
I 99% of the time, if we're at Baker, I bait. Coon shrimp, sand shrimp, prawns are the 3 major go-tos up there, right? I mean, and that's the nice part about this. Again, family friendly. You can go to Walmart, buy a $15 bag of prawns, and have enough bait to last just 10 seasons, right?
Oh, really?
You're just going to cut them up into little 3/8 by 3/8 inch squares and hang them off these.
So let's talk about that real quick, because I've been down on the Columbia River with you guys, and you thread them. This is totally different. You're cutting them up. You're putting them in scent.
Prawns.
Oh, for prawns.
Just the store-bought prawns.
Yep.
The coon shrimp, I'll actually take on the front hook.
Okay.
We should have grabbed the coon shrimp to show them, but basically just the bend in the coon shrimp. You're just going to run that hook right through the bend, right? So the shrimp's facing backwards because shrimps swim backwards.
Okay.
That way that shrimp's facing backwards. You leave the back hook bare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sand shrimp.
Yeah. You running that hole?
No.
Okay. Just the tail.
You can. Some guys do. If you're going to run them whole, you want to downsize your hooks. I would go probably to 2 number 2s, separate them a little bit, right? And grab the tail with this hook, bury this forward hook in the body, and then take the egg loop and grab the tail again just to kind of hang it on there. I rarely run them whole.
So you're just taking the meat chunk out?
I'll just take just the head or just the tail, and same thing, just put it on that front hook.
Gotcha.
I prefer the coonies.
Yeah.
They fish longer. You can dye them.
Yeah.
Right now I have 40 mason jars of coon shrimp that I cured up here.
So when you're curing these, let's just talk about that, because I've been out with you before and I've seen the orange, the red, the pink, the yellows, the chartreuse, whatever. Is that just cure? Or is there scent and stuff in there? You want to give me I'm putting you on the spot, dude. I cure them with just cure. You always start basic, right? Yeah.
Your salt, sugar, and dye.
Yep.
There's a lot of store-bought cures. I use them for some of them. Zilla makes some good prawn cures. ProCure makes some good prawn cures. Ultimate Egg Cure guy, he hooked up with ProCure this year and is putting his stuff out.
Cool.
He's got a prawn cure that works really, really well.
And you guys sell all that stuff down at John's in your cure section. Yep. Okay. Good.
Is it the liquid cure or the powdered cure?
I use the powder.
Okay.
But I turn it into a liquid.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Right?
Yep.
You mix it all together. Always throw a hand. You cannot put enough rock salt in your.
Gotcha.
I mean, there should always be a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rock salt in the bottom of the jar.
Really?
You can't put too much salt on them to get them cured and hardened up.
Yeah.
What we'll have to do is we'll do a bait tutorial early July with you on how to maybe cure, and then also how to put a coon and how to cut up your bait and everything, and how to bait a hook.
We'll just have to go with him one day.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I'll do that.
That's fun too.
Yeah.
So. And it is important. Color makes a big difference up there. Sockeye have the biggest eyes of all the salmon, so they're very visually orientated, and that goes to more than just the color of your bait. We'll cover that in a little bit. So we've got the heavy leaders.
How long?
I will start probably about 16 inches,
Okay.
14 to 16 inches, and cut them down
Gotcha.
from there. If you're not getting bit, we'll go shorter.
Nice.
As to what we're adding to these leaders, I mean, it's basically kokanee fishing on steroids. Is the way
Kinda
you
looks
look
like
at
that.
it. You know, I've got this is just one of my boards from last year. It's all beat up and stuff, but you know, we've got these little pink flies that you can get down at John's. Some of them, Schindlers.
Yep. The old pink.
Some of them I'll put the Mylar wing dinghies in front of them. The cool part about Mylar, the Mylar wings, is they are adjustable. And a lot of people don't know that you can take these things and bend them more or bend them
cool.
less to speed up the spin or to slow down the spin. You can tweak the wings to give them a little wiggle. They're designed to be adjustable.
So give me that board real quick. What the heck you got going on here? You been holding out on me? Do you sell this down at
Yeah,
John's?
Schindler's flies,
Some
man.
of
No, the board.
Oh, yeah.
This is legit.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
kokanee
those are
and
nice.
for
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
For anything, really.
Yeah.
And they come in, you can put them in a box, too. They make a box specific to those to
and
slide
they make
them in.
them a bunch of different sizes. Heck, some of them are this big. You know, you
This
put all your
is- okay.
salmon spoons on it and
Okay.
everything.
Well, I need to come down and grab that. So I'm seeing just your regular tiny hoochie. I'm seeing a fly looking setup here. You guys sell that down there.
yeah.
Little UV skirts.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. A lot of pink.
A lot of pink, a lot of orange, a lot of red. Sockeye are almost so shrimp and algae, red algae. Once they get bigger, shrimp and algae are their two main food sources. Once they get bigger, they will a little bit feed on smaller bait fish and shrimp or squid.
Okay.
But they're most zooplankton and algae and shrimp, coon shrimp, sand shrimp, whatever it may be, is their main diet. Right?
Cool.
They're not big meat, hence the red meat. That's what determines the color of the meat.
Yeah.
So we're told, right?
Okay.
I've heard a bunch of different theories on that, but in my opinion, I think it's their diet.
Okay.
So that's basically what you're imitating. That's why, like the old Lake Washington days,
Red
you know,
hook.
just red hooks.
Yeah.
And basically all that's, it's supposed to look like the zooplankton.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
100%.
Wow.
you know, from the get-go, these fish will be really aggressive, and I'm not saying easy to catch.
Yeah.
But they're pretty easy to catch.
Yeah.
So that's it. You know, I'll start with my bigger baits with these Frank's flies, the squids. You know, just your typical pink squid. I like these clear ones.
Yeah.
Right. You put some beads in them, some wing dinghies in front of them, have decent bait. You're going to catch some fish. As the season progresses, as every fishery in Washington State, it's crowded, and you're on a lake, gin clear.
Yeah.
20, 30 feet of visibility with 200 other boats
Yeah.
fishing for the spookiest fish in Washington. Right? And you have 200 boats with 200 sonars pinging
Yeah.
off the top of their head.
Yeah.
They get timid and harder to catch. And
Yeah.
at that point is really when you got to start to. First thing I do is downsize.
Okay.
I'll always have a squid. You know, I'll run 8 or 10 rods out of the boat at once, right? And I'll explain the meaning behind that, why we do that. So you'll always have a good chance to try a lot of different things. But the first thing when those fish get timid is to downsize your gear. I'll go from these bigger flies. I mean, heck, this has been probably my best sockeye killer.
Yeah.
Just
Just
simple.
some Mylar
Yeah.
tied
It's
in
just
your
a
egg
little
loop.
bit of Mylar tied into your
Really?
egg loop.
Yeah,
you
look at
know,
that.
just
Wow.
a little bit of twinkle to it and a little piece of bait. You
Wow.
know,
Okay.
a lot of these kokanee tackle suppliers have got a lot of different variations of these little flies and squids and coconuts and you know, it goes on and on and on and on. That's one thing about kokanee fishermen is they are very, very elaborate with their gear.
Yep.
So you start downsizing your gear. Try to stay away from the pack.
Yep.
You know, if you're in the middle of boats, it's always said you're in the middle of a pack of boats of 100 fish and nobody catching fish.
Yeah.
Why are you one of them?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, venture out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got, doesn't matter, does not need to be barbless. We got bait, we've got the gear, the setup. We got 8 to 16 inches leader length.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about flashers because you've got a wide variety here. Some I've seen, some I haven't seen, some I've heard are the best, the go-to. So let's keep it simple and quick here on the flashers because there's a lot to go through here, but a lot of this stuff is personal preference. But in your opinion, out of these, what are always year after year the ones that stand out to you?
So the solid chrome, right? This is tried and true.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you just went up and ran these, you're going to catch.
You're going to do okay. Okay.
It's for whatever reason, it's probably the staple of Baker Lake sockeye fishing anyway.
Yeah.
50-50.
And you guys have these down at John's.
Yeah. Chrome and copper or brass. I guess this one's all needs to be polished again. Or like I said, I pulled these things out of the bucket from last year.
Hey, that's a good question. Hudson and I went to a garage sale last year. We bought a tackle box for $20. The lady was selling, and it had a handful of these flashers in them, but they were beat up, kind of like this one, like tarnished. What do you use to polish these things up?
Polishing compound.
That's it.
Yeah,
you don't have to be
can buy
cautious.
Kits.
Okay.
I think I've been getting mine at the auto parts store.
Okay.
But they have a bunch of different rubbing compounds. They give you a bunch of different brushes, attachments. Some are brushes, some are rags on a deal, but you put them in the end of your drill.
Yeah.
Put some of that compound on there and just take it to it.
Buff
Just
it
like
out.
They clean your jewelry.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
These will all shine right back.
There you
up
go.
to brand new.
And that's what matters down there.
Connor would rather have you come by.
Yeah, just come buy a new one, man.
Come buy some new. We need to get a few. Yeah, we need to get
Start
some new
selling
gear.
the compound.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys, from what it sounds like, is you're just trying to get that UV to bounce off of this under the water because we're going to get into this in a minute. You're not down very deep.
Every year it's different.
Okay.
And that kind of depends on water temperature. So up there in the lake, there's going to be a break.
Okay.
Surface temperature to actual lake temperature. And it seems like those fish sit at the break, either right above it or right below it.
Okay.
I don't know the actual answer to that, but they seem to find that break. And every year it'll seem like there's a 10-foot depth area that they get caught in. Some years it's 25 to 35 feet.
Okay.
Last year it was 45 to 55 feet. I think that's because of the warmer. Last year we had really warm summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it kind of pushed them down a little bit. Yeah, but 45 feet, that's nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's nothing. So
this year, knowing that we got a little bit less, it's kind of been a mild spring, right? Maybe a little bit less water, which I don't know if that matters up there. I mean, Baker always seems to be white, right? So there's going to be some snow melt.
Yeah.
But anywhere between 30, 45 feet-ish.
look at your electronics.
Yeah.
Let the fish tell you and let your electronics tell you.
Yeah, I can tell you from going up there with you and a couple of buddies, it's funny. We'll be fishing and kind of be shooting the breeze because nothing's happening. And then, well, here you go. Well, hold on, guys, because you see something and all of a sudden all of the poles just start dancing. And the boat next to you and the boat behind you. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's what happens more than any other fish.
Yeah.
These sockeye run in packs.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're looking for up there. I wish I could show you on my phone. I have a picture up from my fish finder last year, and you can see a wad of sockeye. Heck, it takes up half my fish finder. You can see the gear go into it, and then as it comes out the other side, you can see the whole wad
stretch out,
following the gear. And that's what they'll do sometimes. And that's the point to all these flashers, is you're creating your own school of sockeye. Right. That's why I insist on having all the rods in the water when we can, because what'll happen is I'll troll around the lake and you'll make your own school and you'll see them. And it's frustrating sometimes because they'll follow you the full distance of the lake, you know, and you'll see them in the gear and see them swimming with you. They won't bite, you know, and you're just like, God, what do I do? You're moving things up, down, speeding up, slowing down, doing figure eights. And then all of a sudden, you'll make the right turn, and bing, 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 bing,
Unreal.
4 rods go.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
What caused that?
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
all it took is one, you know, the village idiot
Yeah.
to go up and then
Yeah.
the rest of them follow.
They all follow.
That's the whole point to all this, is just to kind of create your own little your own village.
I was going to get to that. So when you talk about running 8 rods, I hear that and I'm like, that's chaos. But then I understand why you guys do that, because you got 8 flashers down there causing all this commotion. And like you said, it just takes that one ding dong to be like, hey, what is that? Boom, hit it, and the rest follow, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the more rods is ideal. The more flashers in the water is ideal. Okay.
And you can use the 2-rod endorsement up there.
Okay.
Right? So if I have 4 guys in the boat plus me, I can put 10 rods in the water, and I've figured out how to put 10 rods in the water.
So let's talk about that. So there's a couple of ways you do that. You got to get down to those fish, and there's a couple of ways to do that. There's also a couple of ways to run multiple rods. You got downriggers, you got lead balls.
Yep.
So let's talk about your guys' preference on that and how to go about doing that.
Yeah. How far are you setting your stuff behind the boat for one? That'll different. That varies as far as you go to the bow, back to the bow, right?
Yeah. If I had to pick one, I like the downriggers the best.
Okay.
The reason being, I can control the depth better. Not that I can't control it with the lead rods, but you got to figure in line angle and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And once the fish bite and are popped off the clip, it's just you, the flasher, and the fish. That lead ball loses a lot of fish for you.
Sure.
And you know, it's a little gaudy and whatnot. I mean, don't get me wrong, we catch a ton of fish on them. I mean, Bree and those guys, that's all they run is those lead rods. They got that dialed down, and they're my program personally, though, is I run them both. I prefer the downriggers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, it's more fun. You know, these little downrigger rods, they're just noodles.
Yeah.
You know, and you got a 6 or 8 pound sockeye running around on basically a kokanee rod. Man, it's a kick in the pants.
Now, are these guys popping them off the downrigger clip, or are you having to release them?
Most of the time, we have to do it. You're going so slow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Not enough
they're down there, they're just chewing on it. And you'll look at the tips of these rods, and you just go tap, 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 like that. And 9 times out of 10, I get there first. You know, all my gear's in the back of the boat. I'll grab the rod, reel down, and just pop the clip.
That's enough.
That's enough. These sockeye have really, really soft mouths. I cannot stress enough not to put too much pressure on them. Just like a kokanee, you'll pull the hooks right out of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was my next note here, is when you do hook up, there's no need to set the hook.
No.
Not with a lead ball, not with, okay.
And even downrigger fishing in the bay, I mean, if you think about it, you take those offshore clips we're using out in the saltwater, and you put 2 3/0 in your hand and try and pull it out of that clip, you're going to have those hooks buried halfway into your hand.
Yeah.
You know, so if that fish has popped the cliff itself, it's hooked.
It's hooked.
yeah.
It's hooked. Just keep pressure on it. Just like with these sockeyes. Once the clip is popped, just keep steady pressure. Don't horse them, because the harder you pull on them, the harder they're going to pull back. And enjoy the fight.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the most entertaining and fun fisheries I've ever done. And then you hooked me on it, Ben. You brought us up, my son and I. My son, my dad, my buddy, and my son, and his son, I believe, were up there 3 years ago with you. And I was like, we're adding this to the calendar from now on.
Yeah.
It's so
we were in a little boat then too.
Yeah.
A smaller boat. That was a fun day.
Oh, we killed it.
Good day.
So Connor, and Ben, let's talk about rod, reel. You just mentioned if you're going to be in the downrigger, is that going to change the rod that you use in compared to running a lead ball? Okay, so let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So this is a downrigger rod, right? It's a little 8 to 12 pound, designed for sockeye rod from ProLite. Little 8-footer. It's flimsy as all freaking get out.
Glass rod.
Really, really soft. But
It's a one piece, yeah?
One piece rods
Okay.
for sensitivity. But you're not going to want to hang 6, 8, 10 ounces of lead off of it. You're just not.
So should you choose to go with lead, you guys? Should you choose to go with lead, what are you going to run? What kind of rod are you going to run? Let's actually talk about this real quick before we switch gears. You sell this, make them all. I know you sell Pro Light down at the shop, but you sell these rods, these socket rods.
That exact one. Yep.
Come down and talk to Connor. He'll get you set up with this. This is a great rod.
Yeah, those are killers on there.
In fact, the last couple of rods that I bought from you are Pro Light.
Yeah.
They're making a great product.
They make excellent products.
Yeah, I love them.
Yep.
Okay, so that's your downrigger setup. What if you choose to go with lead ball? What are you doing there?
I'm running a 10 to 20 pound, a little bit heavier, longer rod.
Okay.
I stagger them. Like my bow rods are 12 footers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to get them out, that way your gear's not all in one line and it kind of separates the gear. 12 footers off the bow, 10 sixes in the middle, 8 footers out the back.
Oh, there you go.
All 10 to 20 pound. And then you want to stagger your lead too. So I'll run 12s off the bow rods, 10s off the middle, and 8s off the backs, or 10, 8, 6, vice versa. That kind of spreads your gear back to typical lead rod fishing stuff to just kind of keep the gear from getting tangled.
So let me ask you this. So Hudson, for example, my son, he's got a little 14-foot lake boat, right? And you're going to set him up with, he's got one downrigger on one side. We're going to put another downrigger, a little hand crank downrigger on the other. So he could run downriggers off the back, and then we're going to put rod holders in the middle where he could actually run lead balls. Can you do that? You go downrigger, lead ball. How would he do something like that? Or how would someone go about, if they only had 2 downriggers in the rear, you drop those down deeper, and then what would you use as you go to the front of the boat, the bow of the boat? Or is it all, am I backwards?
You can do it both ways.
Okay.
Just as long as you're spreading your gear out too.
Yeah,
So with Hudson's little boat like that, we're going to run the 2 downriggers off the side. More than likely, it's going to be just him and a buddy in the boat, right? So you're going to be able to fish 4 rods.
Yep.
I would run 2 straight out the back behind that, just because it's easier.
Got it.
And you're now making a V.
Oh, so
right?
then 2 downriggers
Funnel.
off the side,
Off the
and then
sides
2 straight out.
2 straight out the
Yeah.
back. So now you've created a V. So as you come through these fish, you're going to funnel them in.
So you'd run lead off the back, downriggers off the side. Okay. And then in that particular case, what size lead ball would you recommend out the back? Is it
Probably 6s or 8s.
Okay.
Okay. Probably 6s, just because it's going to swing it back a little further.
So your back rods will actually be further. Yeah, they'll be way further out than your downrigger.
That's another thing with these Dodgers. When I clip these into my downrigger clips, they're that far.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Setbacks are short then.
So
Reason being for me is I run 4 downriggers and they're really close to each other. It's
Okay.
not just, well, for one, you like them short because the shorter you choke it, the more it's throw the flasher back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
But
you don't
when
have it whipping or
Well, these don't whip. These just go side to side because
okay.
they're Dodgers.
Okay.
But when I go to turn corners, if this is clipped in 10 feet behind, my downrigger is only 6 feet behind. When I turn the corner, it's going to swing into the other downrigger.
Got it.
So there's a lot to it. Like I said, running 6, 8, 10 rods.
Well, if you're gonna run multiple rods, so it's worthy of talking about this. So let's go back to the lead ball. How much leader, if you're running a 6 ounce, like you said, a 16 ounce lead ball, how much leader are you letting out? You letting out 100, or are you going more?
No,
or
it's not that. The line angles aren't that steep. Remember, you're only doing 0.8 miles an hour, so you're going to have a lead ball on a slider.
Yep.
You're going to have a bumper in between that and your flasher.
Yep.
Whether that's 3 feet or a foot is up to you.
Okay.
You know how much action you want out of everything. You have to have line counter reels, in my opinion.
Yep.
I mean, you can try the 8 strips, 10 strips, 16 strips.
Yeah.
But if you want to fish 35 feet, you probably go down to 40.
Okay.
Just because the line angle is not going to be that steep.
Got it.
And you'll be able to, I mean, if you have a decent fish finder, you'll be able to see it.
Okay.
You'll see your gear.
Okay.
Going that slow and that clear of water, if your
Yeah.
fish finder's not picking it up, you
Wow.
need a new fish
I
finder.
love that. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, so we got rods for lead ball. We got rods for downriggers. You got all that down at John's. We got you taken care of there. Let's talk about reel, and let's talk about line and how you set all that up. I see you got my favorite because I use those in the salt too. I love the Lexa.
Yeah, the Daiwa Lexas work really well. The cold waters, the Finland cold waters, low pros work really well.
300 size reel.
Yep, 300 size, even 100s. I run 100s actually.
Kokanees, yeah.
A lot of my stuff too. The I think Dakota's making a smaller
300.
making a 300 now too.
I was
That
going to
would
say,
work
what are you
just
guys
fine.
seeing reel-wise down at John's
Yeah.
that you're in the 300 mark?
The Lexas, Dakotas, the cold waters. Theirs is like I think a 354 is what they
Yep.
call it. That's
Yep.
a perfect size for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
A good line counter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I run braid.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Okay.
I like braid, but the difference is up at Baker, I run braid, but I don't run a bumper.
So you're
Okay.
Straight to the Dodger.
I go straight to the Dodger with it.
Interesting.
Reason being is
So you go braid straight to the
straight to the
flash.
Dodger.
Wow.
And the reason being is I still like to run normal size downrigger clips.
Okay.
And usually we have to run a bumper because the line will pop out of the downrigger. Like when we're out in the saltwater, you
Yeah.
have all that pressure. We don't have that pressure up there. So
Got
to
it.
easily get the line out of the clip with these light little rods, I
Okay.
run the braid on the normal downrigger clips. It pops out just about.
Really?
It's like a perfect setting.
Yeah, that makes
for me.
sense.
Wow.
And that
Yeah.
65-pound braid.
No, that's 30 pounds.
30 pound. Oh, okay.
30 pound Power Pro.
Very
yep.
nice.
Yep.
So 30-pound braid, straight to the flasher.
Yep.
Now, your downrigger clips, are you using the smaller one, Scotty's, or are you
I'm
using the regular
my normal,
saltwater?
I was saying I use my normal.
And then you just
Scotty
go on the setting, you
offshores.
just click it down on the lighter setting?
No, I have it clicked down all the
You
way.
pull it
but
all the
that
way back.
lighter braid, I
Really?
don't pull it all the
Slides.
way back. I pull it to the little black line.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that lighter braid, it slips out of the clips really
Huh.
easy.
Cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
And just as much as I've experimented and messed
Yeah.
around, that's been the best combination I've found.
Yeah.
Without breaking a little light rod, you
Yeah.
know, and being able to fish the little light rods without a big heavy top shot on there.
Yeah.
I just don't like the extra knot
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And the reason I don't like the extra knot is so I have all this gear in the water. You're going to get tangles.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
gets tangled. I guarantee you're going to get tangled. If you're sockeye fishing right, you're going to get tangled.
Yeah.
These fish are going to, you have all that gear. You can't control where these
Yeah.
fish go. Sometimes they'll wipe out 3 other rods,
Yeah.
you know, when that's all mixed up and messed together, especially with the braid. Any extra knots you got in there is a huge pain in the butt.
Yep.
So it's really easy. That way I can just unclip the flashers, grab the braid, pull it apart,
Yep.
clip the flasher back on, and you're back in the water.
Beautiful.
Back in business.
Yeah.
Okay. Any difference with lead balls? Same thing. You're running braid
Yep.
straight to the
Yep.
flasher.
Your
Yeah,
bumper.
my bumper is mono. I'll use a 50 or 60 pound monofilament bumper between the lead ball and the flasher.
That
Uh-huh.
just keeps
You know.
your weight in front of your
Yeah,
Dodger.
Yep.
keep your weight
There
in
you
front
go.
of your Dodger.
Okay.
Now,
I
you
love-
said if you have a shorter bumper, it's going to give you,
More action.
okay, and then
Yeah.
a longer one will give you
one's
less.
gonna
Okay.
give you less.
That's good to know.
You got to kind of find that happy medium
Yeah.
between being stealthy and still getting your action
For sure.
out of your gear.
Wow.
Wonderful.
I love it. I think we covered everything from the actual sockeye you're going to catch all the
Yeah.
way up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
What do you think, Connor? We miss anything?
No, Ben does a good job. I mean,
Okay.
I
Sent.
hope we get to go with it.
Yeah, we're going to go. We're going to bribe them into going.
I love talking about it.
Yeah, if
I
you-
love Baker Lake sockeye fishing because there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different kinds of flies and squids and wingies and beads and flashers and downriggers, no downriggers, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
different baits. I mean, it's just endless. It's an endless toy store, you know.
And the bounty at the end of it's not
You
bad.
know,
Oh, my
bounty at the
goodness.
end of it. And it's one of the most beautiful places
Yes,
in
it
the state
is.
of Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm up there 30 to 40 days every year, and there's not a morning I go up there and don't look. I mean, you're right at the base of Mount Baker.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
You're in the mountains. Yeah.
You're there. You're there. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's not a bad drive, you guys. You're going to head up near Bellingham. You're going to head, I don't even know what that is,
Highway 20,
east-ish.
Burlington.
And head
Burlington,
east and
yeah.
north, and
Yep.
you're there, and it's a beautiful drive.
Worth it. Even if you don't go fishing up there,
yeah.
you know, just to drive up there. It's amazing how many people I get in my boat each year
Yeah.
that don't know what's in their backyard.
Right.
You know, you get them
Yeah.
up on the sock or Skagit or Stilly or
Yeah.
Snohomish or the Sky Comish, and you're just like, oh man, this is beautiful. I was like, have you never been here? They're like,
Yeah.
no. I was like, how can you live in Everett
Yeah.
your whole life and not see the Sky Comish River?
Yeah.
What's the point of living here?
Yeah.
You know, why are
Absolutely.
you here then? You know? So
That's awesome. One last thing. We kind of talked about this with bait. Are you scenting any of these,
Yeah,
or you
a
are?
little bit.
A little?
A little bit.
What
you know,
scent do you
but
guys like to use up there?
Your shrimps.
Yeah, because you're using prawns. Yeah.
I'll give you
yeah.
95% of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Now, your shrimp scent, your squid scent, anise,
Yeah.
krilled. I mean, there's 1,000 different scents on the market. That's the best part about the world that we live in.
Yeah.
This fishing community. It's as shallow enough for a baby to wade in and deep enough to drown any one of us, right? Yeah. So it is what you're going to make out of it. I mean, that's the fun part about Baker Lake. It's anybody can do it.
Yeah.
If you have a boat.
Yeah.
And when I mean boat, you don't have to have a big fancy 25-foot North River.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see people up there in, like Huddy's going to do, in a 14-footer. I've seen guys up there with old salmon rods.
Yeah.
Like these old broom handle salmon rods cut down to the first eye.
Yeah.
With a Pen 209 stuck in a rod holder. And that's what they're using for their downriggers.
Oh, shoot.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, or guys just taking downrigger balls.
Yeah.
Throwing them off.
And throwing them off the side, 20-foot rope, and they drops down and it just hangs off. It works.
It works.
As
it works.
hillbilly as it is, it works, So it's always fun to see that crowd up there too. And guys on kayaks.
Yep.
See these guys on kayaks, that's becoming a big thing. Looks like a lot of work to me.
Oh, yeah.
But, they're all decked out and fish finders and downriggers and GoPros on their head and, having a great time.
Yeah, they're probably camping and just loving life up there. So let's wrap with this. If you go up there, you can camp. Hudson and his friends are certainly going to do that this year. There's a couple different places to launch, and I've met you at one of them, and I've met a buddy at the other. So what are your thoughts? What are your best tips and practices on, where to launch to get to a couple of, you're going to see where the boats are. There's no secret to where you're fishing. No. So I don't think we need to talk about maps or locations. You're going to launch at either of those launches, and you're going to look out, and you're going to see boats. But what are your thoughts on, because one of the launches where I met you is up by the dam, right? Yep. Is that right? Yep. Okay, let's talk about that.
That's the main launch. It's a 2-lane launch. It's busy.
Get there early.
Get there early. There's a lot of parking.
Yeah.
I've seen 300-400 boats launch out of there. I mean, yes, there'll be trailers up and down the road, and you're going to have to wait in line. But it's easy, especially if you have a big boat.
Yep.
It's probably the best launch.
Okay.
I use it because it's the easiest one to get people to. I've got to have 400-500 people. Maybe not 300 to 400 people come and meet me up there. Throughout the season, it's the easiest for me to say, hey, just go to the dam, hang left, go up, you'll see the parking lot.
Yep.
A lot of it, if you're camping up there, it depends on where you're camped. There's actually 4 boat launches on the lake that I know of. There's the dam at PSE, Horseshoe Cove, Swift Creek, and Shannon Creek.
Okay.
I believe Shannon Creek is the very last far end campsite of the lake. You can only launch there if you're camped there.
Okay.
Swift Creek is a public launch, but you're driving right through the middle of the campsite. I pity the people that camp there because at 2 a.m. you have diesel pickups and, running outside, a line of them running outside your campsite.
Yep.
Decent little launch. I do believe it's only 1 lane. Horseshoe Cove is a rougher launch, a little bit tougher to launch at. It's kind of shallow. It's paved up to a point, but you're going to park your boat in gravel. That's the second one from the dam. All accessible, all very accessible, public accessible, except for Shannon Creek, of course. So all depends on where you're camped, where you're going to fish at, what your launching skill set is. Be patient, right, with people.
Yeah. We went to Swift Creek last year, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad at all, and then we were just fishing just not too far out from that. But, I felt bad for the campers.
Yeah. The only bad part about using those other launches, too, is driving down that gravel road. That gravel road has rattled fenders off of boat trailers for years. You're covered in dust, right? It's hot. It's summer. But you are halfway across the lake. It cuts your run time down in half. So,
well, if you want to eat the finest fish that the good Lord has given us up here in the Northwest, and you want to have a trip of a lifetime, a day of a lifetime on the water, I want you to reach out to Ben Rosenbach with Mixed Metals Outdoors. Book a day with Ben. You can thank me later. And if you want to go out there and fish like my son's going to do, like we're going to do, and you need to get the right gear and you need to get the right tackle, and you need to talk to some guys at the shop, go down and see Connor and his crew at John's Sporting Goods. One last thing. I say this all the time. I have these guys on our podcast because I believe in them. I love them. I've worked with them. I've fished with them, and we want to support them. So whether or not you hire Ben or you go down right now and get some tackle from Connor and his crew, do us a favor. If you found this podcast valuable, I'd love for you to just Google or look down in the description below. Google John Sporting Goods Everett and go leave them a 5-star review. Do the same thing for Ben at Mixed Metals Outdoors, and just say, hey, found you on a podcast. The information was incredible, and I appreciate your wisdom and your willingness to give, because a lot of anglers and fishing guides, they don't do this. And so this is rare that we got a couple of givers in here today. I appreciate both you guys, and man, I'm literally counting down the days to July. You got Chinook, you got Bakerlake. I think July is my favorite month of the year.
It's
so
fun.
it's going to be fun. So thank you guys. You guys were awesome today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.